A tropical wave moving into the Atlantic will be the next area to watch for potential development, but will there be others? Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We are your home for Caribbean weather, and it's fantastic to see you on this Thursday. Really hope you're doing well. Hope things have been going nice in your area. Hey, coming up in this video, we do have an area of development as a possibility as we go through the end of the week and into the weekend. We'll talk more about that. Another area that I'll be monitoring very closely as well in your island by island rainfall forecast. Let's move into it. Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the leading law firm of Central Florida. They are your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Get storm damage of any kind, wind, hail, hurricane. I promise you, they'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process, and they offer free consultation and policy reviews, so you do have nothing to lose. Go to leanonmelaw.com if you guys would like more information. You know I love to hear from you guys, the information I want in that comment section below. What's been happening in your area? What's been going on with the weather? You have a question, drop it down there as well. We still have this persistent boundary in South Florida and over the northern Bahamas, still producing some showers and storms. Tropical wave moving just south of Jamaica, enhancing again that monsoon trough in the southwest Caribbean. So we have water-loaded atmosphere and a lot of activity to talk about there. We have another tropical wave on the doorstep of the Lesser Antilles that'll be impacting the area late this weekend into the weekend. And down the road, a tropical wave coming off the West African coast is the one with the best chance for development. There's another wave in the Atlantic Basin, but that one at this point in time doesn't show any signs of trying to get going. Again, we're going to take you island by island here, just a cursory view. It's extremely hot in a lot of spots. Temperatures today in Fahrenheit well into the upper 80s or lower 90s. A lot of spots 32, 33, 34 degrees Celsius for daytime highs. You factor in the humidity, and this is what it really feels like outside. Obviously, you need the storms this time of the year to cool you down. Places like Puerto and Santo Domingo there in Hispaniola, 105 for feels like temperatures. Even back down towards Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago, feels like temperatures in some of the Lesser Antilles well into the triple digits as well. So the first thing I want to talk about is this area here, this tropical wave which is on the doorstep of the Lesser Antilles. Now earlier today, it looked a little bit more impressive, right? Hurricane Center has never talked about this, but we've had a good cluster of, some thunderstorm activity here, and the western extent of that has reached into places like Barbados and TNT late on this Thursday with just some rounds of showers, and they'll continue to see better rain chances in the Windward Islands in general as we go into the evening hours, overnight, and through early on Friday. But it's slow moving. Right? We had just a good little core of thunderstorm development there, but there's nothing at the lower levels that is showing any signs of development. So this is an elongated, disorganized area of tropical showers and storms, but it's slow moving. So it's going to be impacting the Eastern Caribbean over the next couple of days. So if you live in the Lesser Antilles and eventually into the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, we are going to get more tropical moisture to be streaming back into your area. Again, the first spots to kind of get hit by the western extent of that moisture will be Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Barbados, although ultimately this actually moves north. So this is where you're going to be most influenced by it today, but eventually the Central and the Lesser Antilles will get more of the direct tropical moisture out of that disturbance as it moves a little bit to the north and to the west. But today it's been a lovely day for everywhere else. Back to the visible satellite imagery, just a little bit in the way of some passing clouds and a brisk fast-moving shower, but many dry hours and locations across the Lesser Antilles today. Of course, we have a live camera in Corinth, St. Lucia. Again, one of the exclusive things I can bring you here at Meteo Mundo is live cameras across the Caribbean, and that's the live look to Corinth. And again, just some fair weather clouds, a mainly dry afternoon, beautiful day in St. Lucia, beautiful day overall here, even up to the Leeward Islands, Antigua, Barbuda, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Barts, St. Martin, Anguilla, Dominica, Guadeloupe, all included in this lovely afternoon. Again, a fast-moving shower, that would be about it. It's a nice day in the Virgin Islands as well. Anegada, Tortola, Roadtown, Yost Van Dyke, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John. The numbers that you see are wind gusts in miles an hour. And relatively speaking, from what we've had over the week, we've actually had fairly little in the way of some winds until we start to see the thunderstorms develop. Now, we're getting some thunderstorms central, western sides of Puerto Rico at the hour, but I promise you, this is good news. You know why? It was stinking hot today. We had excessive heat warnings for a lot of Puerto Rico throughout the day, and this cools things off. Now, obviously, this comes along with some heavier rainfall from time to time as well, and that could produce some localized flooding, but to get the extra cloud coverage and to cool things off, it's not a bad scenario here. Started in San Juan, moved off towards Utialto, Mayagüez, and the Aguadilla areas. There is a disturbance to the north, just a trough axis here, and it is pushing some tropical moisture south. So the combination of a few different influences here and different wind directions at the surface from the east and the mid-levels for the north is allowing some of these storms to develop at the hour. But again, good news to cool things off a bit. Thunderstorms are beginning to become a little bit more widespread over the Dominican Republic and Haiti as well. And again, cooling things down from time to time. It's been, again, good scenario here, because when I put back on these temperatures where it is not raining, again, we're into the mid-90s Fahrenheit in Port-au-Prince, Santiago de los Caballeros, even the Samana Peninsula today, well into the lower 90s. So the storms cool things off. Here's an area that had some heavier rain earlier today, and there actually was, kind of a flood advisory issued for portions of Turks and Caicos. We had some thunderstorms earlier today that produced some locally heavy rainfall. So if you live in TNC and you saw some of that, let me know in the comments section below. It has dissipated a bit, and there's been a few more storms in the southeast Bahamas. But again, with this trough just to the east of the southeast Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, additional showers and storms could try and eke back in at any point in time later today, tonight, and throughout the day on Friday as well. We're still looking at overall better storm chances in the northwest Bahamas, but I'm showing you this broader view because you can clearly see the counterclockwise spin here. There is a large mid-level low that is situated in the western Atlantic basin. Again, non-tropical in nature, but streaming in tropical moisture to produce heftier showers and storms at the hour as well. So we'll get into the northwest Bahamas. We'll bring on the live radar data here out of the Miami, Florida area. So let me take that off real quick and then bring on the live radar. There we go. And then let's loop it back up for you guys. So you'll see what's happening here with these storms. They're actually moving in a little bit different direction than what we've had lately. And hopefully they'll loop up. Let's see here. They should be looping up. I actually don't know why they're not looping up. Let me try this one more time. I go here, bring on the radar, and then when I zoom back in, let's see if we got a loop. Yeah, now we got a loop. Okay, so let's take off the satellite data. All right, that's what I wanted to get to. You notice that the storms are developing kind of in Andros and New Providence, northern sides of Eleuthera, and then pulling to the north. There's a little bit of an easterly component to it as well, but we're seeing more thunderstorms today over the Abacos, right over Grand Bahama. Good thunderstorms earlier today, Freeport, Lucaya, High Rock area, northern side of the Abacos, Walker's Key, Bimini. And again, these storms are kind of just spinning in and moving east and marching towards the northwest Bahamas in general. Thunderstorms over portions of the Florida Keys as well. The driest part of the Bahamas should be the central Bahamas for today, kind of just in between the two influences that we've already discussed. Live look outside to central Eleuthera. It's a beautiful afternoon. Again, central Eleuthera is about as far south as I expect more concentrated storms to potentially reach throughout the day. But at this point in time, there's a lot of blue sky, just a little bit of a breeze. Beautiful day there at Governor's Harbor. Thunderstorms will continue to become more widespread the deeper into today that we go over Cuba. You can see the enhancement of thunderstorms across the entire island at this point in time. We continue to see moisture streaming back in over Jamaica. Thunderstorms are developing at the hour in the central and the western parishes, maybe as far east as the Clarendon Parish area, but especially Manchester and St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland and Hanover parishes, the southern sides of Trelawney and St. James as well. So Falmouth, maybe as far south and east as Mandeville, certainly Black River, Treasure Beach, Cambridge, Savlamar, Lucy, Negril. It is the same areas we've been talking about here for the heftier storms, but more interior sections so far for today. But you notice that there is still some moisture off towards the east, and I'm not going to rule out a couple of showers spinning back into the southeast sides of the islands late this afternoon and this evening. So even Kingston has the opportunity for a couple of showers and storms. We're more concentrated in the western parishes again for today. Few thunderstorms breaking out in a scattered variety over Little Cayman and Cayman Brac and the Grand Cayman Islands areas as well. Let's bring back on our wind gusts here. These are going to be temperatures that might crop up first. And again, you can clearly see 88 in Little Cayman earlier today. Thunderstorm moves through. Grand Cayman as well, you get right back down to the lower 80s. That's what you need to cool off this time of the year. We've had some of that actually hit the islands so far for today as well. Now, I saved the western sides of our area for last because this is going to be a situation. We continue to have a mid-level spin in the Northwest Caribbean. It's pulling in moisture from the monsoon trough in the Southwest Caribbean, which is always persistent this time of the year. And these thunderstorms are quite healthy today across portions of Quintana Roo and the northern sides of Central America. Thunderstorms are really prolific over places like Cozumel and Tulum, especially earlier this afternoon. The interesting thing is they're just south of Cancun, but a few more thunderstorms are developing there and just inland of Cancun at the hour, but they're not marching inland like they typically do this time of the year. There's a lot of juice out in the coastal waters and in the Northwest Caribbean in general, and that's where the heaviest storms and the lightning has been. High lightning counts as well. A lot of lift in the atmosphere, a lot of instability. So the southern sides of Quintana Roo, then back into Belize, San Pedro, Belize City, extra cloud coverage for today. Same thing for the Dengrija area as well. Utila, Roatan, Guanaja, passing showers, an isolated rumble of thunder is what it looks like on the visible satellite imagery. You can clearly see the brighter cloud tops, the high cloud tops with the thunderstorms. And again, a lot of this activity right now is in the open waters, but this should continue to try and spiral in as we go through the remainder of tonight and throughout Friday. And thunderstorm rain chances overall for this area looks to be fairly healthy right on through the weekend. This is one of the wettest areas I have for us here. Again, although it's not a tropical disturbance in nature as far as a depression or a storm, the rich tropical moisture in play will feed in some excessive rainfall and just good heavy lightning storms as well. Thunderstorms again will break out over the rest of Honduras and Nicaragua and obviously closer to our actual monsoon trough. Portions of Panama and Costa Rica, San Jose, Panama City continue to be very wet, where each and every day they continue to have the opportunity for some widespread flooding rains. It's been another beautiful, another dry day in the ABC Islands. What else can I say except to take you outside right now to Oranjestad area of Aruba, where again, we get the Chamber of Commerce Day. It's breezy. You can clearly see that from the coastal end of Beach Resort there. The winds are a-whipping. They're actually pulling a little bit offshore. But the jet skis are in play, the catamarans are in play, and everyone is just enjoying a fine afternoon there in the Oranjestad area. Friends, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for taking a quick second, hitting that like button for me right now, subscribing to the channel as well. Again, my one initiative I ask for you guys, just a simple payback, share this channel with one person. Even if they watch other weather YouTube content, maybe they'll like something that they see in this video, something unique or exclusive like that we have, like our live cameras, and they'll want to become a regular viewer like you guys are. So appreciate you doing that. Thanks for those who are members of the channel, and thanks for those who have found other ways to support via the super thanks in the description of the video below as well. Okay, halftime, quick sip of my diet green tea, and we'll move on. Now I want to get into the tropics. This area cropped up just before I came on yesterday, so we've already mentioned that in the previous video, but now we have a 30% chance of development, and we can clearly see the tropical wave that is about ready to merge off the West African coast that the Hurricane Center is highlighting, and the models are picking up on pretty quick development. You notice how far east and how close to the West African coast this potential development could be. So in the next 48 to 72 hours, it's not out of the question that we get ourselves a tropical depression. Now, most of the models have it a little bit farther out in the time, either late this weekend or early next week in this area for signs of development with this. But again, it's now a 30% chance, up from a 20 yesterday. But for this time of the year, the fact that this is the only area that we'll be monitoring, at least in the short term, is still as of note, right? The fact that this is the heart of hurricane season, and this is the lone game in town right now. There is deeper tropical moisture already off the West African coast. I'm going to drop off the 5-day development area so you can see that. Again, we had a Saharan air layer that was able to traverse the Atlantic basin and get into the Eastern Caribbean. Very unusual for this time of the year, but that is subsiding in the Eastern Atlantic, and there is not as much dry air for this to develop. There's a bit of wind shear, but not significant. So there are more favorable conditions for this tropical wave as it moves into the Eastern Atlantic to develop, as we would typically see this time of the year, right? The fact that, the last wave, 91L, that became an invest, fought the dry air and the shear and got ripped apart We don't typically see that in early September here. All right, so let's get into the models, how this might play out. I'm going to bring up the GFS model first, then we'll look at the European model, both the deterministic and the AI version of this. So let's go back over here. Take 1 second to reset things for you guys. That's the wrong model. All right, we're going to go out just a week, right? Again, we're not going to chase the model as I say it. You know, when we get in that 10 to 14 day time range this time of the year, the models always latch on to a lot of things because climatologically, there's a lot of spin in the atmosphere and they see a lot that could potentially develop. But all we have to do is go out a week here and look at what might be happening in the shorter term. So this is the GFS model. You can clearly see that it has this system developing as we go over time. And it begins right on the eastern edge of that development area. But as we especially get towards the end of the weekend and early next week, a little bit stronger development. Now, the other note is that this development area has a little bit of curve north in latitude, and the GFS model has the same scenario playing out. This is fantastic news because as we get even into the central Atlantic basin, this is already fairly north in latitude on the first runs of the models, which hopefully keeps it out of play for the Eastern Caribbean. Obviously, there's a lot in the weeds that still have to be played out here, but the initial model runs I'm going to be showing you here do have a fairly north latitude gain early in the time frame, and again, potentially recurving well before it gets towards the Lesser Antilles. There's a lot to play out with this, but you know, again, that's what we see so far. The other area that the GFS continues to pin in on is going to be the Northwest Caribbean and into the Southern Gulf. Now, again, a lot of energy coming off the monsoon trough. I mentioned this in yesterday's video. Regardless of development, this looks like a very wet period for our western areas and our northwest areas as well. So Jamaica and the Cayman Islands and all of Quintana Roo and Central America, Cuba into the Bahamas and the Florida Keys could be very wet next week, regardless of where there's any spin. But the GFS wants to hone in on this a little bit more than the European model does, and this is an area that it has highlighted over the last several days. So we'll just have to see if underneath all of this moisture, we do get some low-level spin to occur. This is the GFS model, okay? We'll first of all just look quickly here into the northwest side of the Caribbean because I mentioned it first. Again, over the weekend, nothing happening. But by the time we get into early next week, you'll start to see a few areas develop here on the GFS model. Slow to develop, Monday, Tuesday time frame, but there you go. And then sneaking into the south central Gulf of Mexico. So that area will bear some watching again by this time next week. The other area, of course, is the one that I've already mentioned, the one the Hurricane Center is highlighting. Again, initial development not likely to happen until late this weekend or early next week where we start to get that area of low pressure. But the GFS model does pick up on this developing and again, fairly north in latitude, but potentially getting into a tropical storm and the Gabrielle, named the 7th named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season by this time next week. Looking at the European model chance to develop it, it now has a 100% chance of a tropical depression. So it's really honed in on the area that the Hurricane Center has as well. Again, we discount the Southwest Caribbean because of the inherent model bias with the spin that always persists this time of the year there. It's interesting to note it has a very weak area in portions of the greater Antilles, but I don't see any other model support for that right now. It's just a 10% chance, but of note, it's absent of any development area in the Northwest Caribbean or the South Central Gulf, whereas, of course, the GFS model picks up on that. So this is the deterministic, or excuse me, this is the ensemble run of the European model. Then we'll look at the AI version of this. You can clearly see, again, development of that tropical wave in the central Atlantic basin. Again, snapshot this time next week, so we're just 7 days out. Again, fairly far north in latitude. Already, most of them right along parallel with portions of the northern Leeward Islands like Antigua and Barbuda and Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and trying to turn north. There's that one little spot right there that the ensemble has picked up on that I showed you in the previous map. So again, something to monitor, but it's just kind of 1 week outlier at this point in time. So not a lot to put emphasis on that one. It's obviously this tropical wave here. The AI version of the European model ensembles running out. Same scenario. There's not much difference between the AI model right now and the other normal ensemble members. You have development of this tropical wave. It is a little bit farther north and west and a little bit quicker. So it's slightly closer to the Lesser Antilles overall, but still a little bit more of, you know, a turn to the north. Now, if we were to kind of average this out, the AI version is a little bit farther south than the other European ensemble members, but It's still a little bit of a north gain in latitude here as it gets into the central Atlantic basin, and it also has one outlier over the greater Antilles towards the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico at that point in time. Again, it's an outlier as we go through for now, but that is something to monitor. So that's what the models look like. So it does look like the next area is going to be the one in yellow. And again, that could become Gabrielle, the 7th named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. The other area to monitor is going to be the Northwest Caribbean and the South Central Gulf of Mexico. And we'll see if the European model or any of the other global models like the ICON want to begin to hone in on this. I'll monitor it, of course, daily, and we'll see how it plays out. But there is nothing, at least in the short term, close to home that should be developing, and that is certainly noteworthy this time of the year. All right, so now we're going to get into your island by island forecasts. So let me fire this up. Again, wet weather, stormy, potentially flooding kinds of rains are likely for our western areas in some spots. First of all, the rain chance is just going to be high in places like Cancun and Cozumel, and Belize City, and the Bay Islands of Honduras, and my friends in Kingston, Jamaica, and Grand Cayman, Panama, Costa Rica, Cuba, portions of the Bahamas over the next several days. Highest rain chances should spiral into the northern sides of Central America and portions of the Yucatan. But I tell you what, the Cayman Islands could get into the act as well. And if this moisture feeds off north and east, Jamaica could continue to see some solid shower and storm chances too. Secondary area will be with that tropical disturbance that I've already mentioned. You can see that moisture coming in. Now this is, it's going to be spread out enough that even though it's a slow moving system, I don't expect there to be a lot of concentrated rain every day. This will be more daily showers and a few rumbles of thunder that develop. So I've got 40, 50, 60% chance of showers, Ed, but it's more over a prolonged period. Just kind of waves of tropical moisture coming out with this rather than just one, concentric area moving through. But you can clearly see that moisture spreading in across the area right now on up towards Montserrat. And again, it lifts north. So Antigua, Barbuda get into the act as well. Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Barts, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis. Those are areas where we'll see improving rain chances. Same situation for my friends in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. And again, it's not bad news because a lot of these areas could use some rain and obviously cool things off a bit in the afternoon hours when you're talking about with some extreme heat in the day. Rain chances will be pretty good for Punta Cana and Santo Domingo on over towards Lacaille there on the peninsula of Haiti. And rain chances will be kind of all over the place, quite honestly, in the Bahamas. I do expect a little bit of a concentration of rain far southeast Bahamas, but especially Turks and Caicos. Again, we have this broad disturbance north and east of you guys, and that should continue to kick some energy and moisture your way. Nothing too concentrated, but scattered showers. Rain chances should die out a little bit, but stay okay in the northwest Bahamas with just passing showers in the central Bahamas. So it really kind of like highest, second highest, lowest, and the lowest somehow becomes in the middle of all of this, places like Exuma and Long Island and Cat Island. So this is what it looks like for you guys, island by island. Northwest Bahamas, 50% chance for tomorrow, down to a 40 on Saturday and Sunday. Central and southeast Bahamas, limited rain chances, especially over the weekend. Turks and Caicos, again, better, and staying a little bit higher over the weekend too. Rain chances will continue to be very high in Cuba, 70% chance tomorrow. Cayman Islands rain chances, I've got 40 tomorrow, slightly drier Saturday, then back up to a 50 on Sunday. It really just depends on how far north and east that moisture pushes, but the models do show better rain chances overall in the Cayman Islands over the next 3 days. Belize City's rain chances, I like the 50% chance. It's not going to be a washout each day, but every day should come with some showers and storms moving from east to west from the coast towards inland areas, and some of those could be some prolific heavy rainfall producers as well. So keep that in mind. Cancun and Cozumel stay with that solid rain chance over the weekend. There will be some areas that go even higher than this, percentage rainfall wise, but I'm more concerned not about how widespread the rain is, but how some of the local rain could be on the heavier side and produce some isolated flash flooding. That is a possibility in those spots. Jamaica's rain chances, again, are solid, building to a 50% chance on Sunday. Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Dominican Republic, 40, 50, 60% chance Friday, Saturday, slightly lower Sunday, but still good. Remember, I don't expect this to come in with just one big burst of rain. This will be just a few days of elevated rainfall chances, but not in the 80, 90% chance range, 50 and 60 in most spots. Looking pretty good for rain chances in Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis. Bermuda's rain chances will be fairly high as well with some passing showers each and every day. Antigua, Barbuda from a 40 tomorrow, building to a 60 over the weekend. Should see some building rain chances in most of the Leeward Islands Islands and Montserrat included in that. Guadeloupe 40 to a 50. Dominica 40 tomorrow, 50 on Saturday and Sunday. Slightly lower again, Martinique, St. Lucia, SVG. These are the areas with the best chance of rain tonight, and then should dry out a bit beginning early on Friday through the rest of the weekend. And you'll see that even in Barbados. Again, your best chance of rain might occur tonight or early on Friday, and then fading rain chances through the weekend. Scattered to isolated for Grenada. We'll have some moderate rain chances in Trinidad, Tobago, Suriname, and Guyana as well. Nueva Esparta stays with the isolated shower chance, and if we can snag a couple of showers in the ABC Islands the next couple days, we'll be on the luckier side. As this wind and as these storms build in, we'll see some building wave heights in the southern sides of the Caribbean. Also expect to be some fresh winds in the exposed waters of the Atlantic across the eastern side of the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. We're going to see some building wave heights in the Gulf. And again, down the road, just depending on what develops out of the area that we've already mentioned, we could see obviously some building waves, and we pick that up as we go through the rest of the week here, kind of again on the northeast side of everything, but pushing some potential 8 to 9 to 10 foot waves with that. That would obviously come along for the ride with a developing tropical storm. So rainfall totals again are quite prominent and quite high, but this is what we see this time of the year. You're going to see a lot of spots get into those reds, those darker reds, and even maroons. Again, it's at least 2 inches, but a lot of spots that's more than 4 inches of rain. Look how widespread. Again, I mean, even if you section this off kind of in half of our area and go west, there is a vast majority of our western areas 4+ inches of rain the next week. More than 100 millimeters, but many spots could even double that. And again, this includes so much of our area, but even our eastern zones have a good chance for some heavier downpours. It's not going to be as widespread, and there will be some spots that are drier and may not even get an inch of rain, but that's few and far between. We've just got a lot of rain tropically here moving through the next 7 days, despite the fact that we may not have a true tropical system swinging into the area. Friends, you know I appreciate you guys. You can follow us across all of our social media. You want to join us on Instagram, TikTok, where from time to time we do some exclusive content. X and Facebook, you want to send me a picture or video to help tell the weather story in your area. The easiest way to do that is mymediamundo@gmail.com. Some of you guys send it via our Facebook page, and others, that's perfectly fine as well. If you have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. Of course, while you're down there, thanks for taking a quick second and liking and subscribing. And please remember that Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Wind, hail, hurricane damage, heck, even a burst pipe, they'll walk you through every step of that insurance claim process. You want to support someone who supports us, go to leanonmelaw.com for more information. Friends, have a great rest of your day. Take care. I'll see you back tomorrow with the latest forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, right here at Meteo Mundo.